Haney Biz presents Entrepreneurs Unlimited. Here's your host, Mark Haney.
All right, and we are here with Steve Stosen, founder and CEO of Notary Express. How you doing today, Steve?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you bet. Now, I haven't known you a super long time. We're in the Entrepreneurs Organization together, and I know how successful you are, but you're also so humble, and I think it's been really refreshing to get to know you. So we're going to share your story a little bit today, and don't be humble, okay? Be you. Be a little bit out there. All right. So give us Notaries Express. Mm-hmm. Tell us about your business.
Notaries Express. We're a nationwide signing service, so we're related to real estate in the means of we'll find you the notary, and we basically contract with all the title companies. They'll call us up or email us or put an order through our website and say, hey, we need a notary in New York tomorrow at 10 a.m. And then we go out and we search that notary. It's not a specific notary, not just like a regular notary. It's more of a signing agent. So they go out and do a real estate transaction.
Gotcha. So if I want to get something notarized, you will send the notary to my office to
your office,
get the notary.
Your home. Doesn't matter. Could be anywhere you want. Side of the road, in a car.
Now, we do a lot of house flipping, so I'm going into title companies all the time, signing, and the ambiance of the title company. If they come to me, I miss the women in the little work outfits, the little jumpsuits or whatever they wear, the business suits. But they come to us. And it takes you from having to go out to the title company.
Right. So it takes it away from that 9 to 5 thing where if you're a busy guy and it's hard for you to get away during the middle of the day, it makes it convenient for you and most likely your family because most people own a home with their wife or they got to sign off in some way, somewhere or the other. But to get it back to the house, put it knee to knee at a dinner table or something like that, get it done. It's a little bit more intimate. It's a new style of business that was created since the 2008 or before the 2008 boom.
Yeah. Now, how did you get into the business, Steve?
My wife and I both actually worked in escrow. So we were behind the desk. We worked with other notaries and other signing services. And, that's basically kind of we seen a niche. We were given our business to another service that for us didn't provide a good quality. And, we just said, you know what, we can do this. We can do it better. We want to be the Neiman Marcus of this industry.
Okay, the great service.
Great customer service and just provide above and beyond.
When did you decide that it was scalable?
When a client asked if I had a notary in another state, I said, I got you.
Okay. And then what happened so you did that one in another state? So, because you guys are nationwide.
We are.
How did you take, you finally realized, man, I've got the Neiman Marcus concept. It's proving itself out at the local level and then taking it nationally. Walk us through that process.
Like I said, for us, it was about kind of identifying some of the national accounts, trying to find, because a lot of the escrow officers mostly do local business. It's easy for us to either do the local signings yourself. We're mobile notary and we can go out and pick up a set of docs from your local escrow officer, drive down to the next town, get it signed, drop it back off in the morning. We had identified a couple accounts that were national, and they needed, the service where we can come in and say, hey, we're going to be able to take your order from A to Z and get you back the docs, and they'll be nice and fine, and you can go ahead and, fund the loan and do whatever you got to do. So we had to identify some of those accounts and just adapt to it and, figure it out kind of as we went along, really.
And, scaling something and taking this concept, this service concept, this Neiman Marcus concept of service nationally, we talked with our previous guest about the 4 key decisions that you've got to get right when you're scaling something. The people, you got to have the people, the strategy, the execution. And with Darren's case, cash was at the front of mind today. What's been the biggest challenge?
Well, for us, we don't have a big overhead when it comes to scaling nationally. So for us, it was a lot easier. It was just a different type of business, a different type of market for us. It was more about making sure we find the right notaries in other states, making sure they're good, and how do we pre-qualify those notaries? So we have our set parameters that we go through to make sure that this guy's not a dud.
Yeah.
We have to make sure we background screen every notary, make sure that they're completely legit. They have their certifications, that they're actually a notary, because we're also sending people into homes. with people, with families.
So the people, it sounds like that was the key,
Right.
especially when you're delivering a Neiman Marcus type of level of service.
Right.
You've got to have the right people. So, okay, so you've had a ton of success. You're very, very humble. Got a national notary business, Notaries Express. Now, let's talk about where you started in the beginning for a minute. I know you had to grow up quick. Tell us about that. You grew up very young.
Yeah, I grew up in Long Beach with a single mom. My mom was a bartender for really most of her life, and she just tried to do whatever she could to make ends meet. From an early age, I really had to grow up fast. Like you said, I had to drop out of school early. That was one of the
Drop out of high school early.
Out of high school. I actually have a 9th grade education. I stopped at 9th grade because I ended up going into, I really needed to work. My mom didn't have any money, and I probably should have stuck with it and just pushed on. I could have done that, but for me at the moment, I left the house because it wasn't good. It wasn't a good situation at home. My mom ended up becoming succumb to an addiction and stuff like that. So. For me, the best thing for me was to get out and get away, and I had to make money, so I started working for a auto body shop. So when I was 14, I worked for Earl Scheib. I don't know how legal that is, but I did it.
Hey, you were putting food on your own table at that
right,
point
I sure
at 14.
Was. Yes. And, and I think I always had the entrepreneur spirit. When I was turned about like 15, 16, I could do this, man. The guys over at the shop would teach me how to do a little body work. So I just said, man, here I am in the hood in Long Beach. I would talk to some guys like, hey, I'll fix your car. You got a couple dents in there. I got a dent puller, sander, and all that. And I would just start fixing cars in front of my house.
Scrappy.
Real scrappy. So just doing that and just trying to get along, just trying to get my life together at a young age, really.
Well, it's amazing that you dropped out of high school and have had this success that you've had. You can't have regrets. But in my mind, knowing you a little bit, is that you have developed this work ethic. Right. Tell me about your work ethic. What's a day look like for you?
My phone never really stops ringing. I just keep my line open to any of my employees or my notaries, really, for that matter. So my day usually starts at about like 6 a.m. I'll start getting calls and just take care of business, and it usually doesn't stop till 9 or 10 because we're a national service. So we have notaries in Hawaii all the way to New York, and sometimes those calls come. Doesn't matter when. If somebody's at the table and they need to answer a question, I'm there for them.
It's amazing to me the success you've had, and you're still working the 15-hour days, because I know where you live. I remember as a kid, my dad would say, hey, those houses up there on Sierra College Boulevard? Someday, son, those will be the nicest houses in all of Sacramento. And that's where my dad was right. Those houses up there in the Cabot Ranch area and up off of Sierra College with the great views, you live in one of those mansions, okay? You're just the entrepreneur.
We got the small house over there. We're the smallest one on the corner.
Okay, yeah. But you live in one of those houses. You have achieved the American dream, and yet you still can't shut it off 6 a.m, 9 o'clock at night. You've got the beautiful wife, the perfect family, and look at you. And you're here on a Saturday sharing your story. 9th grade dropout. This is the American dream as far as I'm concerned. This is really cool. What's next for you? What drives you to continue to push like that?
It's just, I don't know, just being the man for my wife and my family is, I think, what drives me the most. I married up. That's for sure. I think a lot of us probably did, but I really married up. I don't know where I'd be without my wife, and I owe pretty much everything to my wife. She held me together, and she lit a fire. That's for sure. And she still does. That's probably why I work so hard.
Now, you guys work together too.
We do work together. Yes.
Now, okay, so that's a lot of hours. And then, is there a way that you guys can kind of like flip a switch and compartmentalize business, and then kind of focus on, the family and you guys?
It's near impossible when you're, doing homework and work to home and home to work, and it's all intermingled. But, we find our ways. We'll try to do date nights and just kind of not talk about business or, just try to separate as much as we can. But, we love the game just as much as anybody. And we love our business. We love our employees and we love our notaries. And we just, we love it.
So you dropped out in the 9th grade. Any regrets about that time?
I do. I do have regrets about that. It's kind of twofold. I look back and I'm like, man, what would my life be like if I finished school? What kind of life would I have? And I regret not having that education, and also kind of, just being able to have that in my pocket to say, hey, kids, Dad did it, so you should do it. Well, but for me, when I look back at it, I say, I don't know where I would be. And I would hate to have any other life but my own right now.
It's interesting because I feel like you and I have some common ground there. I didn't drop out in the 9th grade. I didn't get great grades in high school, and then I didn't go to college. And I think so many times you build a business, you've had some success, and you're sitting in a room with everybody's got, oh, you got your master's, or you got this, you got that. And people have done so much more in the way of scholastically than what you and I have done.
Right.
And I think in my younger ages, when I was younger, maybe your age, I was a little bit intimidated when I was around the private equity guy that had the Harvard MBA and so on.
Oh yeah.
You ever feel that?
I every day. Sometimes just talking to people, actually getting into EO. For me, that was a big decision for me. I'm like, man, I'm really going to put myself out there. And I just kind of came to a decision, like I just have to do it. I have to do it. I have to let it be known. I can't, not tell everyone or let everyone know who I am, because that's really who I am.
Well, I can tell you that who you are is very, I don't know, I think people are drawn to you very much. I know that I am, and I think there's an attract. I don't mean this is a gay thing. I mean that this is, hey, there's seriously, you have this humble way about you, but you've had such success. You have nothing to apologize for, because you did it the hard way, man. Right. You didn't have the parents that handed you the opportunities. You didn't have it. So what you have done, in my opinion, is so much more special than what a lot of us have done. And so I got to hand it to you. And I am so impressed. I appreciate you, Steve, coming on the show today, sharing your story. And as we before we cut to break, I want to thank you for coming on the show today.
Sure. Thank you.
I want to thank Darren McAdams for joining us as well, Food Jets and Food to You. I want to thank our sponsor, Limitless Limo, ll916.com. And I also want to touch back on what we talked about at the beginning of the show. Help me help you. Marcus mentioned that we want to help entrepreneurs in our community to build businesses, to chase their dreams. And how are we going to know what's in your head if we don't hear from you? We want to know, if you got a question for Mark, you got a question for me, you got a question for one of our guests, share it with me through social media, and I will do my best to share it on the show. I'm with you. You can email me. Lean on me. I'm here for you. I'm doing this show so that we can ignite the entrepreneurial revolution here in the Sacramento area. I'm doing it to help entrepreneurs. I'm doing it to help people if I can. Like Steve. I mean, Steve doesn't need my help today, but, those guys were somewhere along the line, somebody helped somebody with something. And I want to, if I can, I'll be that guy for you. I'll be that big brother or that guy that's been there a little bit, the entrepreneur next door. I'll be that for you if you need a friend. So lean on me. Coming up after the break, I will share some closing thoughts about scaling your business. This is Entrepreneurs Unlimited on Sports 1140, KHTK, streaming live, podcast, and YouTube at HaneyBiz.com. We talked today about the pain of standing still versus the pain of actually getting in the game and going for it. Either one has a certain amount of pain. And so, today's show I thought was really interesting because we're talking about guys that have built something. They've gone through some struggles, but they're building something and they're systematizing. and they're working on scaling their business, which is not the easiest thing in the way to do. One has cash on the front of the brain, and the other has had to find a way to get the right people around him. And it's interesting to know that. And I've at 52, you pick up things, and sometimes you pick up things in the strangest ways. I had a player that I coached baseball, and I had a player. His name was Eric DeMello, and he was one of those guys that the pain didn't bother him, right? The pain did not bother this guy. He would dive for the ball. He would do anything to catch the ball, regardless of what the pain it put on his body, right? He's just one of those guys. And I remember going to him one day, and I said, Eric, you seem to get to every fly ball that comes out in the outfield. You get to everything. And then when you get there, you sacrifice your body. You don't care about the pain. I'm like, what? Eric, what goes into, how do you do that? And he says, you know what? It starts with a decision. It starts with the decision before the pitcher even throws the ball. I've decided I am going to catch that thing. I'm going to get there. And that's always stuck with me. It's like, man, sometimes it's so simple. You just have to decide. You just have to decide to get off the couch. You just have to decide to show up. You just have to decide to shock them, create a differentiation. You just have to decide to systematize so you can scale your company, so that you can build your dream, so you can be what you want to be. And I think it's those decisions that separate us. If you decide to do nothing and go for that kind of pain, okay, that's fine. You could have that coulda, woulda, shoulda pain. Maybe I could have done it if I would have only tried. No one gave me the opportunity. You can have that, and that's painful. I, like Eric DeMello and our guest today, and Marcus, we kind of like the pain of getting in the game and getting scuffed up a little bit, just a little bit better. It doesn't feel that great at times, but at the end of the day, it stays with you. And it reminds me of a story. I'm going to tell this. I'll try to sort of zip through this story. It was when I was getting ready to scale my business, and it was about systematizing. We had got to about 100 million. Okay, and we had a centralized distribution facility, and we were competing against branches all over the country. And we didn't have branches all over the country. We had desks all over an office. So when we wanted to create a store, we put a desk out in the middle of the floor and said, okay, you're this desk, this telephone, this human being, this sales rep, you're the manager of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Okay, so that was our branch, a virtual branch concept. And we worked on that, and we worked on that, and worked on it, and we tried to systematize it and perfect it and get it right. And I remember we had started to get it right. We had got a little bit of scale. We were about 100 million, and Panasonic president calls up. Now, he had never really noticed us before, but his name was Frank DeFina. Frank was a great guy. Didn't know him very well. One day he called up my right-hand man, Brian. He said, hey, Brian, I need a big order. And Brian said, Mark, what do you want to do? How big is an order? How big of an order? A couple $1 million. And he had never called before. It was odd. So Brian and I agreed. Tell him we'll give him a $2 million order, but he's got to come out and visit us. I want to talk to him. And Frank's like, oh. So we place the order. Frank comes out, and he's sitting in my office, and I'm sharing the story. I had walked him around, pointing out all our different branches around the office. We had a 70,000 square foot building with offices, with desks all over the place, and he noticed this picture on my wall, and it was a picture of Barry Bonds, and as he was listening to my story of how we were trying to systematize and scale, he saw the picture of Barry, and he goes, hey, you know what? I used to live next door to Barry Bonds. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? I used to live next door to Barry Bonds. And I thought that was interesting. And he lived in Pittsburgh. It was back when he was in Pittsburgh. And so in the olden days, he told me the story about how Barry, the ball had gone over to the next door neighbor's house, and his next door, and the guy that comes back with the ball is this guy, pro baseball player named Willie Mays. And Willie Mays is Barry Bonds' godfather, right? I think some of you guys know that.
Right, yeah.
And it was just kind of an interesting story. And so he takes in the story that I had about building our different businesses and all the branches around the country. And he said, and I think he kind of fell in love with that story. And he calls me up about a few months later, and we had talked about things like exclusivity and some ways that we could partner more strongly with Panasonic. And he and I just kind of hit it off in a cool way. And he comes back and he says, Mark, I want to partner with you. And I said, what are you talking about? He says, I want you to be the exclusive distributor for Panasonic in the U.S. And that was a game changer for us. I said, what are you talking about, Frank? And he said, yeah, I want you to be the exclusive distributor. And I said, Frank, I really appreciate that. And he said, you know what? I want to give you a gift to solidify our partnership as we became the exclusive. There's actually ended up setting up a second one, but as we ended up being the exclusive distributor, he handed me the baseball that had gone over into Barry Bonds' yard.
And that's the one you're holding right now.
This is it right there. And that's
Signed by Willie Mays?
Signed by Willie Mays. And I've got this as a memory of that game-changing event. We were able to double in size from there and create all kinds of great things. But you know what? Guys help you on the way up, right? Guys step there. I want to be there for you. God bless all of you guys that are taking a shot right now at your dream. All you guys out there that are attempting to do something that's never been done before. You know what? I am here for you. I will help you to reach your dreams. You call me, you find me. And you know what? They will help this great country we live in along the way. God bless you. God bless America. Never above you. Never below you. Always by your side.